Welcome everyone. This video is about September 2021 attempt. We will solve it in accordance with latest tax law for tax year 2023. This particular video is about question 1 of this attempt. Please read the question carefully. The question is of 13 marks. So you should be able to solve it under 24 minutes. Have a look at requirement of question. You are required to compute two items: total income and taxable income. Please note that tax calculation is not required. Only calculation of income is required. Let's do some planning by focusing on some key points. An answer plan will help you organize your answer. First thing to note is the type of person. It's an individual. Mr. Naumann. He is working as manager finance. This means that salary income will be given in this question. His employer is a public listed company. This information had some role in tax year 2021. But now, due to some changes in tax law, this information is irrelevant for this question. We will talk about it later, that why it is irrelevant now. Interest income is also given in question. This is called profit on debt in tax law. This is taxed as income from other sources under final tax regime. Zakat has been mentioned in question. This zakat will be a deductible allowance in our calculation. Some information about rent income is also given. This means that property income will also be detailed in question. After observing these points, we can imagine the format of our answer. Information about employment with a public company will be ignored for the moment. Planning part is complete. Now we move to the execution part. Let's start reading from beginning. Monthly emoluments have been mentioned. Make a working for salary income. Make 3 columns for gross salary, exemption, and taxable salary. We have a calculator screen here. All calculations will appear on this screen. Let's start from monthly emoluments. First information is about basic salary of rupees 120,000 per month. Full amount is taxable. Multiply it with 12 to get taxable salary. Next information is about medical allowance. Recall notes slide for medical allowance. Medical allowance is exempt up to 10% of basic salary. Move back to solution. Let's first find out medical allowance for 12 months. Then deduct 10% of basic salary from it. Rupees 96,000 will be included in taxable salary. Next information is about house rent allowance. This is fully taxable. Amount of rupees 720,000 will be included in taxable salary. Next information is about company maintained car. This car has been provided for official and personal use. Recall notes slide for valuation of conveyance facility. 5% of cost of vehicle will be included in taxable salary as value of conveyance. Move back to solution. Cost of vehicle has been mentioned as 1.4 million. Multiply it with 5% to calculate value of conveyance. Rupees 70,000 will be included in taxable salary. Date of purchase of car is an irrelevant information. It will have no impact on our solution. This car was purchased by Mr. Naumann for rupees 450,000. When this car was purchased by Mr. Naumann, the market value of car was rupees 1 million. Recall notes slide. If any item or property is given by employer to employee, then the payment made by employee is deducted from its market value. Move back to solution. From market value of rupees 1 million, we will deduct price paid, which is rupees 450,000. The remaining amount of rupees 550,000 will be included in taxable salary. Next information is about Provident Fund. Please note that monthly contribution by employer and employee is rupees 18,000. This is a recognized Provident Fund. Interest income credited in Provident Fund has also been mentioned in question. Recall notes slide for Provident Fund. In case of employee contribution, there will be no treatment required. However, in case of employer contribution, some amount is exempt. Exempt amount will be lower of Rs 150,000 or 10% of basic salary. Move back to solution. Find out employer contribution for the year by multiplying Rs 18,000 with 12. Then find out the exemption amount. Exempt amount will be Rs 150,000 or 10% of basic salary. Lesser amount will be exempt. So Rs 144,000 will be exemption amount. Now deduct this exemption amount from contribution. Rs 72,000 will be included in taxable salary. Recall notes slide again for Provident Fund. Interest credited has a tricky treatment. Exemption amount will be calculated by first finding out return at 16%. Or 1/3 of basic salary. Higher of above will be exempt from tax. Move back to solution. First write down the amount of interest credited in Provident Fund. Then calculate the exemption amount. Calculate return at 16%. Please note, that amount of return or interest, given in question, is Rs 540,000. Question also tells us that this interest has been calculated at 18%. In order to find interest at 16%, we will multiply 540,000 with 16 and divide it by 18. So the interest at 16% comes to Rs 480,000. Now calculate 1/3 of basic salary, which comes to Rs 480,000. This is just by chance that both amounts are Rs 480,000. These may differ depending on data given in question. Higher amount will be exempt from tax. Deducted from total interest income of Rs 540,000. Rs 60,000 will be included in taxable salary. Next information is about relocation allowance of Rs 300,000. This was one-time amount and was not paid monthly. Recall notes slide for special allowance. Special allowances are exempt from tax. But there are some exceptions to this exemption. If allowance is paid monthly, then it is not exempt. If allowance is not spent wholly and exclusively for official purposes, then it is not exempt. Relocation allowance given in question is not paid monthly. Also, it was purely given for official purposes. So, both of these exceptions do not apply. Resultantly, this allowance will remain exempt from tax. Move back to solution. Mention relocation allowance in working. Full amount will be exempt from tax. Rs 0 will be included in taxable salary. Next information is about bonus approved by Human Resource Committee. Please note that bonus has been paid after completion of tax year. Therefore, payment of bonus was not received during tax year. Recall notes slide for basis of taxation. Salary is taxed on cash basis. Move back to solution. Amount of bonus will not be considered in this year tax calculation. Mention it in your working. Nothing will be mentioned against bonus income. Next information is about loan from employer. Please note the principal amount and rate of markup charged by employer. Recall notes slide for interest-free loan. Principal amount is 5 million. This is more than 1 million limit. If markup is charged by employer less than 10%, then we will deduct markup charged by employer from 10% markup and remaining amount will be included in taxable salary. Benchmark rate is 10% and markup charged by employer is 6%. Therefore markup at 4% will be included in taxable salary income. Move back to solution. Rs 50,000 will be included in taxable salary. Don't forget to use 3/12 factor in your calculation. Because the loan was obtained on April 1st and up till June 30th, there are only 3 months for which it remained outstanding. Let's now talk about utilization of loan amount. Loan amount has been used to acquire residential house. This information is irrelevant now. Earlier, a deductible allowance was allowed for the amount of markup on any loan, which has been utilized to purchase a house. There was also a condition in past that the loan should have been obtained from a public company. Due to changes in tax law, this deductible allowance no more available in this tax year. Therefore, the information in first paragraph, that the employer is a public company and the information about utilization of loan in this paragraph are irrelevant for us now. Legal expenses paid is also an irrelevant information, because no expense is allowed to be deductible under salary income. Salary working is complete now. Let's make totals. Total taxable salary comes to Rs 3,058,000. Mention it in your main answer format. Also mention working reference for convenience of examiner. Next information is about interest income. Please note that the amount of interest is net of zakat and withholding tax. Recall note slide for income from other sources. Profit on debt is mentioned in it. Also, the profit on debt is taxed under separate taxation, which is final tax regime. Move back to solution now. First, we need to find out the gross profit on debt. Use the formula discussed earlier in our study sessions. Use information given in question. Amount of gross profit on debt comes to Rs 800,000. Let's call it working 2. Use the figures in main answer format. Also mention working reference for convenience of examiner. Mention amount of zakat as deductible allowance. Next information is about property income. Please note that income has started from October 1st. So, there was no property income in first 3 months of this tax year. Also note that the amount received is Rs 1.2 million for 12 months. An amount of Rs 400,000 for utilities is also included in 1.2 million. Recall note slide for property income. Rent is taxed on accrual basis. Then recall slide for income from other sources. Income from amenities and utilities connected with renting of building is included in income from other sources. Move back to solution. We will create 2 workings. One is for property income and other is for other sources. Total advance is Rs 1.2 million. From this amount, remove amount for utilities, because it should be income from other sources. Also mention this amount in working for income from other sources. After deducting 400,000 from 1.2 million, we get the amount of rent for 12 months. As rent is taxed on accrual basis, therefore rent for only 9 months of current tax year will be part of taxable property income. Rent for 9 months comes to Rs 600,000. Next information is about repair expense of Rs 70,000. Recall note slide for section 15A. Building repair allowance is allowed as expense. The amount of this allowance is calculated by multiplying the rent amount with 1/5. Move back to solution. Amount of repair expense is irrelevant information. Calculated 1/5 of rent amount as repair allowance. Rs 120,000 will be allowed as expense. Next information is about insurance premium of Rs 50,000. Recall note slide for section 15A. Insurance premium for building is allowed as expense. It will be allowed as expense whether it is paid or payable. Move back to solution. Rs 50,000 will be allowed as expense. Next information is about administrative and collection charges of Rs 30,000. Recall note slide for section 15A. Administrative and collection charges is allowed as expense. But there is a limit to this expense. It is allowed as expense, maximum up to 4% of rent chargeable to tax. Move back to solution. Mention amount of administrative expense in working. Now calculate 4% of rent. This is the maximum amount up to which admin expense can be deducted. Lower amount is Rs 24,000, which will be allowed as expense. Next information is about utility, cleaning and security expenses of Rs 250,000. Remember that expense always follows its income. The relevant income was amount of Rs 400,000, which was income from other sources. Therefore, the relevant expense of Rs 250,000 should also be deducted from its relevant income. Mention Rs 250,000 as expense. Workings are complete now. Let's make totals. Property income comes to Rs 406,000 and other sources comes to Rs 150,000. Mention these amounts in main answer format. Mention working reference for convenience of examiner. Total income is now very easy to calculate.
Total income comes to Rs 4,414,000.
After deducting deductible allowance, it is very easy to find out taxable income.
Taxable income come to Rs 3,414,000.
Congratulations! You did it! Your answer is complete now. You can ask your questions in comments section. See you all in our next video.